Welcome to the Onstage Podcast, where we deep dive into the power of music and entertainment.
Hi.
Melissa?
No. The secret ingredient is love. I'm just kidding. The secret ingredient is Helsinki yak juice.
Conversate is not a word, I promise you.
Oh, really? Because I'm pretty sure you and I are conversating right now.
Don't.
You know how bad I want to take a hit? Yeah. I wake up every day craving it. And then I look at Lily and I stop myself. And it's hard, but I'm getting myself together and I'm getting sober. I am sober.
Dr. Sophia, I'm her neurologist. We ran her through every test we have here, CT, fMRI, the entire protocol. While I say abnormal activity, I don't see any actual damage. Over there, we have the hypothalamus, the area we associate with fight or flight. I want to show you something.
Is there any...
Olivia Borden!
Well, think about it. You buy a gallon of gas, you buy a gallon of milk. Would you ever buy a gallon of soda? No. You buy 2-liter bottles of soda. Cans are in ounces. Even the little bottles of soda are in ounces. But if you want a big bottle, suddenly you're in Europe buying liters. It makes no fucking sense.
Fine. I guess I'll just conversate by myself.
I hate our school system.
Are semicolons real?
I hate it so much.
What does spell check do? That's incredibly inappropriate.
We don't offer paid maternity leave.
Why at this company do you not offer maternity leave? Am I even in the right office?
Chocolates?
No.
Roses?
I'm okay.
Booze!
Fuck this. I'm going to work for Sheryl Sandberg.
Welcome, everyone. You would not believe who we have on our podcast today. Oh, wow. This is going to be an excellent interview. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with the incredibly talented actress and passionate advocate, Alexandra Miles. Known for her compelling performances in films such as Takeout Move and her Mind in Pieces, Alexandra has captivated audience with her versatility and depth. Beyond her acting career, Alexandra is a dedicated advocate for many important causes, drawing from her own experiences to inspire and support others. I have the pleasure to interview the founder of Project Blackbird. Project Blackbird is a nonprofit touring event and film screening that aims to destigmatize eating disorders and mental health conversation within unprecedented communities. Our mission is to connect audiences of different communities to rid ourselves of shame surrounding mental health. Alexandra, you're a passionate advocate for actively promoting mental health awareness, drawing from your own experiences, but also eating disorder through your work projects like Project Blackbird, but also women's rights. You're a vocal supporter of women's rights, advocating for gender equality and empowerment. And also, you support environmental conservation efforts, emphasizing the importance of sustainable living and protecting natural resources. So your latest project, Project Blackbird, which I've watched the film, and I'm really excited when you gave me that ability to get in there and watch that film. I've got to say it's one of the most powerful short films I've ever seen. And it's a poignant film based on true events that highlights the struggles and triumphs of those battling eating disorders. And you don't only star in the film, but you also serve as its executive producer.
I do.
Showcasing your commitment to bringing important stories to the forefront.
Yeah.
So join us in delving into Alexandra's journey in the entertainment industry, her advocacy work, and the impactful stories she continues to tell through her art. So Alexandra, you're also a member of the SAG and AFTRA as well.
I'm actually SAG eligible. I've been nicely riding that SAG eligible wave, which is lovely.
Awesome.
I work and live in Georgia, so it's a really nice state to be SAG eligible. But which is not to say anything bad about joining SAG. I would love to join SAG once the time is right, but for me right now, SAG eligible has been a great sweet spot.
I'm really happy that you're on the platform. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Um, could you share some insights into your upbringing?
Sure. So I am from the States, from Washington D.C. I grew up grew up in Northern Virginia. I eventually went to Boston University for undergrad. I actually studied business there. Moved out to Los Angeles, where I was working for about 6 years as an actor, and then came back to the East Coast post pandemic, or at the tail end of the pandemic. And I actually went to Savannah College of Art and Design for grad school as a performer for acting. And then while I was there at SCAD, that's actually when I created the short film Blackbird. It was kind of a time when you kept hearing create your own content. And honestly, I kind of turned my nose up at that, not because I thought I was too good to create my own content, but I thought, okay, who are they to say create your own content? They don't realize how hard this is. It is incredibly difficult to create your own content. But when I went to graduate school and I realized that I was surrounded by a film department and so many different players and different roles within film, it was the first time that I felt like I actually could listen and I actually could create my own content. I could tell the stories that I wanted to tell. So it was a great learning experience. And that was kind of the inception of Project Blackbird.
Wow, and such an amazing, amazing film as well. So you're spearheading an initiative to promote mental wellness. Can you elaborate on specific issues you're addressing?
Yeah, so as you mentioned earlier, we really we do a lot of work for various underserved populations, and the reason that we specifically focus there, and we focus on college students. And the reason for this mostly is my partner and I, Kendra Williams. Kendra Williams is the original Blackbird. So this film that I created, Blackbird, is about myself and Blackbird, Kendra Williams. It's about these two young women who meet, and we use the organization as a platform to kind of share that story, share that message. Um, and the message that we really want to share is you are not alone. Because what both Kendra and I realized is there are a lot of individuals, especially within marginalized populations, where discussion of mental health is not safe and not popular, and not common. And so these individuals, like Kendra and I, they feel like they're the only ones experiencing mental health struggle. And we connected on that platform. We connected because we both realized, wait a minute, it was not safe to talk about in our community. And wait, you experienced the same thing. It wasn't safe to talk about in your community. And you experienced the same thing. It wasn't safe for you either. Interesting. So we wanted to stand up in front of these different communities and say, hey, I I am a Latina woman. I am a Black woman. I am a faith-based woman. I am a man. I identify with the LGBTQIA plus community. Whatever it is, these various populations where mental health is not as commonly discussed, we wanted to stand up in front of them and say, hey, I come from a very similar world to you, and I'm here saying that not only did I struggle, I do struggle right now in front of you right now, because I'm human and that's real. And then as part of the program, of course, we bring in different celebrity voices so that they can see their heroes standing in front of them and saying that they struggle. Because listen, everybody struggles with something. There is not I don't care who you are, there's not a single individual out there that has not had a moment of struggle with their own mind, with the mental health, because we are beautifully complex creatures, and that's just the human experience. um, yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of what we're tackling. And then the student piece, of course, not only do we provide resources in the back of the room, but we pay for therapy for a year for all of our student audiences so that they can take that first step to getting treatment, because we know how hard it is when you're struggling to really put forward those bills for therapy. Your struggle does not want to get better. You want to get better, but that struggle, that anxiety, that depression, it wants to hold on. So we want to remove that barrier in the best way that we can.
Wow, that must have been very difficult for you to be, with this mental difficulty and anxiety, and I can imagine what's going through your mind and how to deal with it. Like, how does that work for you?
Honestly, I have debilitating anxiety. It through starting this organization, it has gotten a lot worse, and then it started to get better. And um, as it started to get better, I think one of the things that really helps me is I I am trying so hard, not only for myself but for others, because I want to be an example of peace to
Wow.
myself too. I mean, I really want to find peace, and it keeps me in check when I see all of these stories and interact with these individuals in the audience. When I feel and see their struggles, it makes me. I honestly say to myself, get out of your own head, be with them. And I can't be with them if I'm not at peace with myself, if my mind is constantly, spiraling, and if I have reoccurring thoughts of myself. So it's really pushed me to work harder to finding peace with myself. And I think selfishly, and I don't want selfish to be a bad thing, but it's fulfilling to me to run this organization. This feels like something that I was put on this planet to do. It feels like my mission. It gives me purpose, and I think that that has helped me find some peace as well, knowing that I'm on the path I'm meant to be. It feels good helping others, and so finding something that keeps you motivated, something that gives you passion, that gives you hope and drive and purpose. I think that's really important.
Yeah, all these things in the world are just coming towards you, and especially with the eating disorder. Like, I have a friend who had an eating disorder, and he just couldn't stop eating. I'm um, like,
Yeah.
I was that causing you to the point where you just, I don't want to say this, but you wanted to unalive yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things actually that the original Blackbird and I connected over. She didn't speak a word in treatment. I shouldn't say a word.
Mhm.
She spoke a couple words, but she was very quiet during treatment, and I was very outspoken. Both of which were ways of us, I think, deflecting from our own pain. For her, it manifested in not talking, and for me, it manifested in trying to focus on others instead of myself. But what we really, really connected on deeply was we had a shared experience of. So I'll say yes and no, I guess, to your question. We had a shared experience of not wanting to die, but not wanting to live. We felt paralyzed.
Mm.
And I still experience this where I feel stuck, and I will literally just scream. I mean, I had a day last week where I screamed into my pillow. I mean, like screamed bloody murder. I was just so frustrated. I mean, it was like everything in my body. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be in my body, but I didn't want to go either. So for me, it's more of just this paralyzed, what do I do experience, but it's so visceral. And I think the problem when it comes to the eating disorder, it's so overpowering. I mean, your brain is not in control anymore. And the ironic thing is, for many people with an eating disorder, it's this need to control. And by doing so, you fall farther out of control than you can possibly imagine. I mean, the food is controlling you, the thoughts are controlling you. Um, Everything starts to control your everyday, and until there's almost nothing left of yourself.
Yeah, I know this girl, and she's got really bad depression, anxiety, and sometimes she'll hide herself for 2 weeks. I'm like, well, I guess there's no movie today, or I text her and call her, and then suddenly, hi, I'm out. I'm better again, and I'm like, okay, welcome to the world. See, I don't understand it
Yeah.
myself, so it's difficult. Like I was telling my friend today, anxiety and being anxious are two different things. It
Yes. Very
it's,
much.
yeah, like, we're all anxious, but people with anxiety is a totally different ballgame. Like, for instance, like, many people have dreams and passions, and sometimes they don't act on them, but you did. So what's the defining moment where it was the last straw and you pushed you to take action?
With the organization or with my eating disorder?
Yeah, with everything.
With everything. Well, I'll say with the eating disorder, I didn't know what was wrong with me because people in my community did not speak about
Mhm.
it. My eating disorder looked different than I read in a textbook. I was diagnosed with anorexia, but I was still eating 3 meals a day. In my mind,
Wow.
anorexia meant you don't eat. That's what I learned in high school. Not true at all. There's various ways that, anorexia can present itself. At the end of the day, I was not honoring my own hunger cues. I was not listening to my own body. And I was depriving myself of nutrients that I needed, that Alexandra needed, not that somebody else needed, but that I needed. And so my mind would not stop planning, thinking about food. I also was losing a lot of weight, but I had no idea that I had an eating disorder. So I actually sent myself to a psychiatrist, and I said to him, I need help. I don't know what's going on, but I can't stop thinking about food. And he said, have you ever thought that you might have an eating disorder? Well, I laughed. My doctor laughed. My mom laughed. We were all like, no, that's not true.
Mm.
Next thing you know, I was sent to an inpatient center, hospital. And I was between there and residential treatment at the two of those for about 8 months live in. So 8 months before I stepped outside those doors. So I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. Um, I think the turning point for me there was when I realized that I was going home early from events. What made me initially feel so connected to my friends, the working out and the calorie counting and the diet culture and all that. At first I felt so connected, and I had energy. I think restriction from food, what a lot of people don't realize is there's actually a chemical and biological response where you actually feel more energetic. You do. It's almost similar to a runner's high. You feel high on life. I mean, you really feel at the top of your world until you don't. And
Mm.
at some point in time, your neurons stop firing appropriately. And then again, like I said, I was going home early from events. I was not socializing. I was not able to be with my friends because I was hungry, starving. And so that was really, that was it for me during treatment. And then as far as the organization goes, that turning point for me was actually somebody asked me when I created the short film Blackbird, why did you create this film? Um, and I said, because I wanted to help someone. And then the second it came out of my mouth, I was like, well, then what am I doing just letting it have its play in festivals? That's not
Mhm.
helping anybody when there's no dialogue around it. That's not, so then I realized, okay, how can I help control the narrative around it? How can I help bolster conversation around it? How can I help somebody that needs to see this? And that's where the inception of Project Blackbird, the organization, came. And then honestly, each little piece of the organization blossomed just from friends, partners, a relationship I was in at the time, and a great idea came from him, my parents. I mean, it was just listening to others, and I had this sticker on this post-it note on my computer that said, "Set your own precedents." And I think the magic of the organization that I'm running now is I have never looked at another organization to think, how did they do it? So I'm going to do it like that. I've always just thought, okay, how are we going to do it? Because we're going to start it, and I think when you do that, you let yourself play, you let yourself imagine and dream, and you're not fitting yourself into some box. You're really just inventing your own wheel. And because of that, I think it's become it's been able to be flexible and really shape into something that's meaningful.
Did you know about Karen Carpenter's story?
No, I didn't. Not before.
Yeah, she was, there was a lot of, uh, bulimia and anorexia. That you had an eating disorder, which means you
Yeah.
didn't eat, but you kept losing weight.
So so to help clarify, there are different diagnoses within an eating disorder. There is anorexia nervosa, there's bulimia, there's binge eating disorder, there's
Okay.
ARFID. An eating disorder can manifest in various different ways. All of them food related, and related to intake, outtake, all of that, but they are very different. I think what you might be referring to is body dysmorphia, which is a symptom, or which is something that somebody might experience in addition to an eating disorder, which is where you don't quite see your body as others see it. And now it gets more defined, further defined from there. But that's the general idea. Is that what you're referring to?
I see what you're talking about. Okay. Yep. Eating disorders. Yeah. It was it's kind of crazy though. I find that there's millions and millions of Americans, and in Canada, there's actually people who have a mental health condition. What do you think of the case that almost everyone I meet either has anxiety, either has some sort of mental illness, and some people are like, I don't know how to help them. I'm not a therapist or anything. And when you hear that millions of people have this condition, you're like, how do you get anything done? You know?
Yeah. I think, I mean, there's a lot of there's coping skills. There's the population that that supports. I mean, there's various ways. Obviously, there's Eastern, Western medicine, coping skills. I find that really at the core of it, what's most important for me is sleep. And that seems to make the biggest difference. When I don't sleep, my anxiety is through the roof.
Mm.
And when I really have good rest, all of a sudden it seems to dissipate. So I try to self-talk myself when I know I have not gotten a lot of sleep. It's okay. This is going to go away. You really, though, need to focus on sleep. You need to focus on sleep. And that's for me. It could be different for every individual, but I really have noticed a significant difference when I'm well rested.
Yeah. Can you tell me what motivated you to pursue a career in acting that made you want to go into Blackbird and take out move? What's up about Blackbird? Like,
Acting, I've been an actor my entire life. I was the girl doing the High School Musicals, the theater nerd. I originally was going to go to undergrad for musical theater. Unfortunately, I actually got vocal nodules my freshman year, so that career path subsided. But I knew the second that I graduated that I was going to continue acting, whether that was on stage or in film. And I still love stage. I no longer sing, but I do stage work, theater work. So yeah, I think I've always loved stepping into another person's eyes. I think a lot of actors, you hear the word empath, and you know that you might not be an empath per se, but I think a lot of actors have a lot of empathy, and we really feed off of being in another experience, or combining another experience with what we've experienced and our emotions. And I mean, I actually, for me, what really did it, I went to Rutgers acting conservatory. I think it was a summer conservatory program, and we would do these exercises, life in the room. We studied Meisner, and I remember being in this room, and we're doing these exercises to bring out emotions, and one of them was um, extreme grief. And I just remember, like ripping my heart out and crying, and oh my god, did it feel so good. And I just threw a mirror across the room, and it shattered, and hearing that noise just made, I mean, it was like I felt alive. And I do feel alive when I act still. There is magic, and you have to be a little I'll use the C word, you have to be a little crazy to be an actor, but that's the best part of it. So yeah, I mean, I've just always loved it.
yeah, I heard from many artists who talk about the acting and how they cry and how they do the mean girl and stuff like that. Um, and I want to, like, do you remember what your first acting role was and how you secured it?
At first acting role in TV, film, or
Well, let's say in TV.
in TV? First acting role in TV. I mean, to be honest, the first one, I think I did a lot of background work in the very beginning, and then some smaller roles in Legion and Shameless and Westworld a little bit. So kind of finding those smaller bit roles, I guess. And I actually, a lot of my first work was student work at UCLA and USC. A lot of short films there, and then some independent features from there. It's really about building your reel before you can kind of get in the room for larger roles. And once you have your reel built, and once you've started to make connections, then it's about finding the right agent or manager that can get you in the door for maybe those co-star roles, and then, you know, growing from there. But I'm still learning. I'm still working on that part. So
Amazing. So yeah, how do you prepare for auditions? For instance, Takeout Move, for instance, how did you prepare for that?
so I when I prepare for a role, I do a lot of character work first too, and of course the memorizing piece is a part of it. But when it comes to memorizing the lines, for me, it's memorize, memorize, memorize to throw it away. And I like to kind of I like to actually distance myself a little bit, because I don't ever want it to be so mechanical.
Mhm.
I want every read to have its own magic, and to be present. For a while, I was actually using a little bit of hypnosis before to get my body in a place of not subconscious, but some kind of a middle ground where where I knew the lines well enough. You know, my conscious knew the lines well enough, but I could get myself in a subconscious state where I could really stop trying to control so much. Really, what that is for me is just relaxing. Just getting myself to a relaxed state where I can be present with the material. From an anxiety standpoint, that was really difficult from me. And then, honestly, it was walking in the room knowing that I booked it in my own mind, if that makes sense. Not necessarily with them. It doesn't matter if I book the role with them, but this is my playtime and I've already won. You know, I've already booked the role for myself because I've done all the preparing. And so I've made myself proud. And I think that becomes really important, because you can be promotable, but you can't really control the promotion. You don't know exactly what they're looking for. You might have a little bit of the wrong hair color. You might be a little bit too tall. You might remind them of their cousin that they really don't like. You know, it could be anything. So at that point, you've made it there. You've done your best. You've done your job. Count it as play, you know, as an exercise, and then pat yourself on the back and walk out the door. And so yeah, that's how I prepared for that one. And then I just had a blast doing it. You know, I walked in the room, and every time I'm in an audition, I try to actually just get to know the people that I'm auditioning with, if it's somebody that I'm reading with or the team that I'm reading for. Just relaxing and looking at them for a moment as people, instead of as somebody judging you, just looking at them as people that want you to succeed too.
Was it easy to get along with the main cast in Takeout Move?
Oh yeah, we are actually still very close to this day. We still have a group chat, all of us. It was probably the most fun I've ever had on a set. It was a very intimate set. There were three of us, actors, and then the crew was quite small as well, maybe like 4 or 5 of them. So yeah, we were all really close. We shot for 2 weeks. Kind of part of the magic, I think, of acting as well, is you really form these families, and the magic of it is that it's in a vacuum, I guess, of the time that it exists in, and then it's over. And the magic is it will never be replicated. We're never going to be back with that exact same crew, with that exact same cast in that exact same moment. And it was beautiful while it lasted. So, but
What
yeah.
was what was the most challenging role you played so far? And that does affect your mental health, knowing how challenging the role is?
Blackbird, absolutely, my role in Blackbird. In Blackbird, I played myself. And I played myself at a time when I was not very healthy. And so going back to that place was extremely challenging. I think what was really challenging was trusting myself to fall into that role without getting stuck again. And I'll admit there were times when I think I did put up a little bit of a wall between really letting go and getting into that role, because I was so afraid of dropping back into that space. And then at the same time, while I was playing that role, I was producing. So wearing two hats at the same time. I think many people can do it very well. I don't know that I would again. I don't know that I'd want to. I think I much more enjoy being where I'm at in each role in a silo. I think I would rather just have my producer hat on and really produce a film, or just have my director hat on, or just have my actor hat on. But trying to be everything at once, I think it's near impossible. It's possible, and I've seen it done very well, but I would not do that again myself.
When you were actually starting to film Blackbird, And I want to ask about the actors that actually were part of it, and the one that played Blackbird, she was really good. And who doesn't want a part where you don't say anything throughout the whole movie? I'd love a part like that. I don't have to even say
Yeah.
anything. I just act, and you can tell by the face what I'm saying. She was a good actress, but I know that Kiana Nicole Washington, she's a Darman actor. When you got these actors to be in this movie, so what was their reaction to filming and being part of Blackbird, the movie? Did they understand what it was all about?
Absolutely, yeah. My entire cast and crew, everybody knew that it was from a real experience, from a true experience. There was a lot of sensitivity to that on set. It was a beautiful set and a really, really lovely environment. I think everybody was so supportive of what this meant on a greater level. Everybody knew that this was an impact film. So yeah, it was very well received by all cast and crew.
Yeah, at the Toronto International Film Festival, what were people's reaction after watching it? I can imagine.
So at the Toronto International Film Festival, we actually did the panel for Project Blackbird. So we discussed a lot of. We had three different wonderful panelists who, Kalina Liang and Lux Pascal and Halea Jones, all three of which spoke about their own mental health and mental struggles. And what we really did there was what we do on the Project Blackbird tour, which is talk about how we all experience mental health struggle, and how that's a normal experience. And we had a lot of discussion around mental health on a film set as well, and how we've coped with it, how we've all experienced struggles on that film set. And we presented it, we hosted with We Audition and We Talk About Film at an opening night party. And so it was a room full of actors, and it really was a great way to connect, in a very different way. And honestly, really interesting space, because you are at a party, so you want to bring some levity, you want that. But I think everybody there was able to connect very differently than they had in the past, because we opened up the safe space to be real, to be authentic, and to talk about mental health. Not everything has to be surface level. And I think you could feel a certain magic in the air, connection in the air afterwards, after these three women spoke. It was really special.
Yeah, I was invited to actually go downtown and watch that, but it was a bad timing, but it would have been interesting. But at least you allowed me to watch it in the comfort of my home, and I was like, I got to get people to watch this. I want my whole family to watch this. It was an amazing film.
Oh, thank you so much.
Um, yeah, but as an actor, I can imagine, like, how do you manage or navigate the highs and lows of an acting career?
Carefully. um, I think you just have to really remember that there are highs and lows, that this too shall pass, kind of thing. It's going to come in waves. And again, remember that you're doing what you love and you're playing. And as long as it is forever playing, and as long as you're happy. I think one thing that I thought of years back, and one of the reasons why I actually started the organization and was fine kind of moving on that path, was just because I said something would make me happy doesn't mean it has to. So just because I said I want to be an actor and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, well, all of a sudden, here comes strolling in Project Blackbird, an organization, a nonprofit. I never imagined that I would be a nonprofit owner, but guess what? This makes me happy now. So if my life takes that turn, so be it. And when my life is ready to take the turn back to acting, which it is still, I am still acting, but letting life just happen as it happens. And just, I think, being really in tune with what makes you happy and what's really keeping you going and keeping you motivated and energized. And if that's not acting for a month or two, so be it. It might come back. But just knowing that it's always going to ebb and flow.
Is it happiness you're looking for? Or is it actually contentment? I've been telling people that things can make you happy, but sometimes they won't. Isn't it contentment that's more important, to be content with what you have and where you are?
I think it's both. I thrive off of the excitement and happiness in that space, but I think happiness can also be peace and content. I think maybe it's defining what happiness means to each individual, and for me it means both. For me, happiness is both peace and excitement.
So I know Blackbird was only 15 minutes or so, something like that. But how long did it take you to film it?
About 2 weeks. We were shooting for almost 2 weeks. We had a very tight schedule. Everybody worked very hard. There were long days, but very efficient. But it takes a lot longer than people imagine it does when you see something, so short. And originally, Blackbird was actually 24 minutes, and we ended up cutting it back. A beautiful film at 24 minutes, but that's long for a short film. So we cut it back a
Yeah,
little bit.
that's interesting. So who would be your biggest influences in the acting industry? Like who keep going, Alexandra, you can do it. Give you advice and
My biggest influences, it's a good question. I mean, influences an influence is one thing in terms of like role modeling, but people that are actually kind of pushing me along, I would say it's my friends and colleagues, the ones that I'm acting with. It's doing this with them, and watching each other grow and not letting each other fall on the way. And of course, your acting coaches, but I really think it's actually one of my closest friends from Rutgers Acting Conservatory. His name is Matthew Greenberg. He's one of my biggest rocks champion supporters, and right back, I am to him. And I think having someone there, I guess I'll say, we help support and champion each other. We're each other's greatest cheerleaders, but we also don't co-sign each other's BS. And I think that's really important. Both of us have said to each other, no, I think you really need to do this, and it's going to be hard, and you're not going to like it, and you're going to have a year where you're not booking anything and you're not doing anything because it's a grind, and you need to do it because that's what you're meant to do, and you're good at it and you love it, and you're going to be happy. We've had to kind of get each other past those humps, and at the same time we champion and cheerlead each other like nobody's business. And I think having somebody like that is really important.
so yes, Alexander. So are there specific roles you will take on and ones that you will not because of ethics?
Yeah. Um, I think it's an interesting question, actually, because when you're acting, you're doing just that. You're acting. So you're stepping into someone that has different thoughts than you, different intentions. You should, I think, want to invite that. That being said, personally, that role and what that character is doing, there has to be a reason, and I have to understand that reason, if that makes sense. So if I can step into that brain, and even if it's, if it's a serial killer, say, if I can step into that brain and somehow understand the deep hurt, the deep need of that character, if these actions make sense for the personality, for the person that I'm taking on, okay, if they're written in and I really can't see a connection as to why that was necessary, for different I set my boundaries based on that. I think if I can understand where it's progressing, the story progressing, and then if I can understand the intentions from the character, the honest human intentions, and if that's lacking, then I think something important to remember too is that all stories are written by humans, and humans are flawed, and humans make mistakes. So just because somebody wrote it on a piece of paper does not necessarily mean that that is something that I, will lean into and follow. But in general, I do try to empathize with each character and what they're going through, and see if I can connect with that.
What about table reads? Did you do a lot of table reads?
I love table reads. I really love table reads. I think so. doing them as an actor, and then also for my own productions. We just had a table read for the feature version of Blackbird. We're in pre-production, or we're packaging at the moment the feature version, and we did a table read, and they're so interesting because you really get a sense for energy when things really click and what's being missed. You get a sense for what's funny. You get a sense for what shouldn't be funny, but people are laughing at. So maybe it's being misread. But yeah, they're pure magic. I encourage every filmmaker to, even if it's just for a short, hold a table read before you do it. You're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, I heard from a lot of people they don't do table reads, and others who do table reads that the characters are kind of working towards each other, and it's like comes out really well. Uh, so, how do you, Alexander, balance your personal life with your acting career?
You know, they're very intertwined. A lot of my friends are filmmakers as well. I think as an actor also, socializing, friendships, that's all so important. And as a filmmaker in general, make friends first and then work with the people that you enjoy working with. And I think it's a big mistake if as an actor or a filmmaker you say all the time, I can't because I have to focus on my acting and conditioning, or I have to, focus on whatever you're doing. Obviously you have to set boundaries with playtime. You do have to work, but I think it's a mistake if you separate yourself completely from the social side, because if you are forgetting to experience, what are you pulling from when you're acting? And if you're cutting yourself off from other filmmakers, who are you going to work with then? Who is going to know you? Who is going to enjoy you? Who's going to work with you?
What attracted you to the role of Blackbird, and how much, like, okay, I wanted to say, how much of Alexandra is in the role in Blackbird?
Um, a lot. It really was. So my writer, I gave her my journal from treatment. I told her the story that I wanted to tell, which was really of Blackbird, of this young woman, but of the two young women who meet and who are very different, yet realize how similar they actually are. So I gave her my journal, and I still have not read my treatment journal yet, past treatment, but she has, and she did a phenomenal job, really taking that book, and taking my personality and Kendra Williams' personality and forming these characters. So yeah, it was pretty similar. Now I gave
Must-
her, as an actor, I gave her different isms. I created a different woman, but deep down, the emotions, the feelings were very similar. The intentions, and the needs were very similar.
I think working on a film like Blackbird over and over again, trying to get the scene right, is taxing on the mental health as well. I've had it where not just acting, but because I'm a singer myself, trying to get that lyric right, trying to get, especially when I sing Italian opera, it's you got to get
Mm.
the phonetics right, and that's kind of taxing on the mental health. Were there times in your life that you just wanted to give it all up, just walk away from acting and do something totally different because it's just so hard for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, many times. Unfortunately, I don't think I could give up acting even if I desperately wanted to. There's just something about it that has such a magnetic pull for me. But yeah, multiple times. Even just this industry in general, it's really hard. And it's not glamorous. People think that it is, but I'm so envious of the 9 to 5 workers that have a steady paycheck. Let me tell you, I mean, what a dream to just have that. I would pick that up in a heartbeat if I didn't so viscerally love acting, which I really do. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I think many actors have moments where they're like, "Why did I do this?" But I can't help it. We're born this way.
What makes a terrific, talented actress as yourself? Uh, talk about method acting that doesn't take the character from Blackbird or take out move home with you.
Well, I personally do not practice method acting. I am Meisner trained, so I use Meisner practices a lot, which is not really. you're taking a different experience that you create that evokes similar emotions and feelings, but it's not actually, it's not like method in terms of really believing, being in that moment. So I think it's a little bit easier for me to walk away because I'm not basing it off of true events, or I'm not creating a true event in my mind. I'm kind of relating to something, if that makes sense. I mean, it's there's a lot that I could go into with detailing how Meisner works, but it for me is much easier to walk away and to leave that behind. But method acting can be really tough.
It is. I've heard about the story about Richard Gere, and he was in a movie, and he had to play a bagman in a movie. So what he did is he spent a week homeless on the street, and nobody recognized him.
Mm,
But he ate from the garbage, and he did everything just to be part, like method, just to take that part. And
yeah,
yeah, it was amazing. It's
yeah,
like
it
not.
is. I mean, it is amazing. It's but it's amazing to me. I think though, just at what cost? You're literally. I think you can, and it can be a beautiful thing, but it's a sacrifice to the art.
Do you believe that mental health is important if you're a doctor, a nurse, a scientist, and
Of
those
course,
that actually help people with mental health? How
of
about their
course,
mental health? How does a doctor deal with it? How does a
absolutely.
therapist deal?
Well, let me. I guess I'll pose this question back to you. Are doctors and nurses human?
No. Oh, they are. Yes, they are.
Yes,
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 they
they
are.
are. The
Yeah,
great
sorry,
internet.
why did I say no?
Yes, I mean, and so that's it, and I think we need to start remembering that every profession, the service industry in general, you look at pilots and people in flight, you look at servers, you look at nurses, doctors, they're in these demanding careers where they're kind of asked to pretend not to be human while they're there, but you can't do that. You're human whether you're on the job or not. And I think we need to start looking at each other as such.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I thought that doctors don't get sick. Policemen can't get arrested, because I didn't think they were humans.
Exactly.
Because uniforms don't mean anything. They're just,
Exactly.
like
When
you're
you see
human
someone in
underneath.
uniform. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how do you approach character development for different roles, like your role for Blackbird and your role for Takeout Move? How do you prepare for these roles?
I do a lot of in-depth character work. One of the things that I like to do, I'll journal a lot as that character, and even little things like I'll journal about my morning. What did I have for breakfast? What grossed me out that day? Finding these little quirks, little isms, and starting to really build this person as a person. What am I allergic to? What foods don't I like? What are my pet peeves? And uh, what are my insecurities? What are my securities? So just really, really building a world around this person.
As a mental health advocate, what message do you want to convey to your audience, especially when they watch a movie
Yeah.
like Blackbird? I'm just like, wow, I'm gonna take a lot away from this movie.
Thank you. I guess, yeah, as one message, as one kind of like last message here and message to the audience of Project Blackbird, my deepest wish and my most important message is you are not alone, truly. And the support is there. When you open up about it, when you lean on someone, the support will be there. I promise.
Hmm.
I promise. And it's not going to be every single person that will respond in that manner. But when you are honest about it, when you are vocal, I promise the help will come.
So the actress that played Blackbird, the one that kept silent throughout the whole film, which is a good part, by the way, should I be worried when I see someone in the same way that they need help because they're not speaking? You talk to them, they ignore you.
Maybe, but I would say have empathy. Be curious. Remember that you don't know what is inside everybody's. We call it a paper bag. Everyone has a paper bag. Everyone has problems inside that paper bag, and you can't see them. Remember that you don't know others' experiences. You don't know what happened to that person that morning. You don't know what their family dynamic is like. You don't know if they have family, if they have friends. You don't know. So I think just walking around with that awareness. There are certain signs and symptoms that you can look out for, of course. I go over some of them on tour. I work with Maybelline through their Brave Together program and do Brave Talk trainings, and we talk about different signs and symptoms to look for. So there is that, but I would say first and foremost, just recognize that and help that person realize that you might not understand what they're going through, but that you want to, and you're there if and when they would like to talk about anything. Because not everyone has had the same experience. It's okay that we don't understand, but we have to want to.
So do you believe your work with Project Blackbird influenced your acting career as well?
Absolutely, and continues to do so. I get to know myself better every single day through this, and that's what acting really is about: is knowing yourself so strongly that then you can let go those walls and allow your soul to fill another character, another something. So yeah, I think I absolutely.
Wow. How do you believe that your acting has shaped you and with your mental health and taking care of it, made you a better person? Like if you were to meet yourself, if you were to meet the you from 5 years ago, would they be the same? Like, do you think you have evolved as an actress and has evolved as a person?
Oh yeah, and I think you continue to evolve. I think yeah, I mean every person continues to change every single day. Um, Personally, I am still on a journey of finding myself, my identity, um, but not doing so in a self-centered way, actually doing so by looking at others. The more that I can look outwards, the more I learn about inwards.
To get rid of this mental illness or get rid of this eating disorder. But do you think you're able to manage it better than you could last month? That you could manage it better now?
Yes, but again, it ebbs and flows, and there are some days when it's incredibly challenging. I've just learned more what my triggers are, I think now, and I've learned more that I belong on this planet and that I can and will be loved exactly as I am. Unfortunately, there are still examples in my life that occur where it reinforces that I might not be loved as I am by some, but I have to remind myself that there are going to be some people, as long as I stick to exactly who Alexandra is. If I am Alex, then the people that love me will love me. The people that don't, they won't, and that's okay too, but I'd rather be loved by few than liked but not really known by many. And I want, I think it's so much more valuable to have real connections.
Those are like I've experienced with even myself. I want to be alone because I feel better when I'm alone. But when I'm with people, it causes more excitement and anxiety. I'm like, I want, but then you get why am I so alone? Because I want to be alone, but I don't want to be alone. I want to be with people. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Oh, I know that feeling very well. Yeah. We all want to belong. We all want connection. I mean, at the end of the day, that is, I think, one of the biggest desires in human nature is connection.
So is being a vocal supporter of women's rights, isn't that all under the umbrella of mental health awareness as well?
Yeah, I actually, not that I'm not a supporter of women's rights. I don't know exactly where that was pulled from, but I'm a supporter of human rights.
Hmm.
I'm really just a supporter of every being on this planet not being higher or lower than anybody else. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to even celebrity to me. I mean, we are all human. And so why are we deciding for ourselves that somebody is greater than or lesser than who we are? And I think one thing that I'll leave everyone with is what I've realized is we're a comparison culture. We're constantly looking at others for what's right and what to do, and celebrities, public figures kind of fall into that role. The ironic
Oh
thing is
yeah.
we're looking at someone to tell us what is right. They're looking at someone else to tell them what is right. They're looking at someone else to tell them what is right. Nobody knows. No one on this planet knows. So why not listen to the being that can tell you best for you, which is you? Why not just listen to yourself? Because that's the voice that you can hear the strongest. That's the voice that you actually know. Why look at someone else when you can set your own precedents? And that's what I'll leave with today. Set your own precedents.
Set your own precedents. If there's one, okay, if there's a word of advice to people out there who are struggling with some sort of uh, mental health, what do you want to say to them?
Again, that they are not alone. That when they are vocal, somebody else will connect with them. Somebody else is going through something. It might not be the exact same thing, but somebody else has felt that exact same feeling that they are feeling. And that this too shall pass. Everything ebbs and flows. The good will pass. The bad will pass. Everything is this constant wave. And when you look back, when you're in a good place and you look back, you think, how could I have ever been in that bad place? I don't even remember what it's like to be there. But then when you're in that bad place, you're thinking of the good place, and how could I ever have been that happy? I don't remember what it's like to be there. It's so hard for us to put ourselves in a different place than how we're actually feeling. But it ebbs and it flows, and it all comes and it all goes. So this too shall pass, and you are not alone. And I encourage anyone and everybody, go on the Project Blackbird website. There are different emails on there. Please reach out. We're here for support as well. We might not be the practitioners ourselves, but we're here to connect you with the resources. We're here to get you the help, like therapy. So please reach out.
This is excellent. Thank you very much, Alexandra. Everything will be linked down below, everyone, including her film reels. Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your insights and experiences with us today, and your dedication to your craft and your advocacy for mental health are truly inspiring. We look forward to seeing more of your incredible work on screen. We love that. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Can you just wait one second?
Sure.
So we're going to end this stream, and everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Alexandra.
Thank you so much.